Hello and welcome to Talking with Famous People. Today we explore an exciting issue as we talk about comparative processes internally during grocery shopping with a medium long list that includes items from all the different aisles in the store, and there are items such as frozen items, fresh produce, heavy things like bottles of water, and teas and coffees, butter, pickles, cheeses, and sport drinks and lots of different things that are on your list. Okay, one full shopping cart full of stuff you're going to end up getting. Now, you're going grocery shopping. We're going to talk about how the ISTP versus the INTP experiences this grocery shopping trip from start to finish. I'm going to give my initial quick description of what I anticipate are going to be some of the differences, and then I want to hear Basement Overlord tell me where I'm wrong about the ISTP and one of the INTPs present where I'm wrong about the INTP. Okay? So my perception of it is the ISTP is going to be much more prepared beforehand to go to the grocery store. So the ISTP is much more likely to have either a list or a clear notion of why he's going to the grocery store and what he intends to get there and for what purpose. So going to the grocery store is not just like something that the ISTP might find himself suddenly doing. Like, I wasn't before, now I'm going to the grocery store. It's a determinate act. The INTP, on the other hand, is more likely to procrastinate, put off going to the grocery store, and then an odd moment will arrive when the INTP goes, oh, fuck it, I might as well go now. Now, at the grocery store, I think the ISTP is likely to be focused on getting out of the grocery store as quickly as possible. They're going to try to get their food into their cart in an efficient way, not spending a whole lot of time thinking about it, and then, but nevertheless, being attentive to the fact that you're going to go to one aisle first, then the other aisle, then going through the things, and make sure you check your list periodically and get it all done, so that you can go off and do whatever you're going to do. To the extent that the ISTP is thinking about something that's not the task at hand, it's going to be probably a practical system of some sort that they are engaged actively in learning. They're going to be reviewing in their head aspects that they have learned and understanding how that fits in with their model of the things they've already locked into place, and making sure that fits in locked in nice and doesn't wiggle around too much. If it does wiggle, figure out how to make that piece fit better. That sort of thing they'd be thinking about internally. Internally, the INTP is going to be thinking about something similar, but it's likely going to be about from a different angle, which is things upon which determining which things where shit gives way. It's why INTPs are the most relativistic type. They're always looking for the weaknesses of things, and if they can eliminate the solidity of a given position, then they feel like their work there is done, more or less. They'd rather be in a relativistic world where they don't have to know anything for sure. So I think they'll be thinking on a more counter-truth level if they're not thinking about the task at hand. I think of the two, ISTP is much more likely to think about the actual grocery shopping and is much more likely to get everything on the list and to also make the most wise economic decisions. So the ISTP is probably going to be more aware of how much things cost, even though the INTP is probably going to be poor because INTPs are lazy and don't do work. They don't like to do work that makes them money. And as a general rule, I mean, nobody does really. So, but anyway, the INTP is less likely, as a general rule, to pay attention to the price of things, and more likely to say, well, just get whatever one. This is just grocery shopping. It doesn't really matter anyway. And then at the end, I would say, going home, it's taking the INTP longer in the grocery store, and the INTP probably has missed a few of the items on his list. Or if he hasn't, then he's happy that he didn't. And he's less likely to miss items on the list than the ENTP, but more likely than the ISTP. And that's my overview. All right, so ISTP. Where am I wrong? Where am I right? How does it go?
So everything, well, like I pretty much agree with a lot of what you said. I think there's a distinction there, which is you said that the ISTP will come in prepared and ready to go to the grocery store, which I agree with. Because, like, for example, like I write down, like, see that thing right there? It's like a schedule. It's like I write down, like, okay, at 2 o'clock, I'm gonna go to the grocery store because that's what I plan to do. Whereas I assume the INTP is gonna reference their SI and be like, well, I guess I'm hungry, or they look at their pantry, they're like, well, my pantry's empty. I guess I should just go to the grocery store now. So it's more like on a whim, like you said. But for me, the difference is you said something that I disagree with, which is that I'll go in there with my list and leave as fast as possible. But in reality, like my intuition is really just terrible. So I'm always paranoid that I'm gonna not think of something that I need, and like come back and be pissed off because I forgot to get it. So what I actually do is I literally go through every aisle and like look at every single thing and like make sure that I'm not missing anything that I could accidentally miss. Like maybe I didn't put it on my list or anything like that. I didn't put it on my list, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, that's actually something I need. So I actually go through every single possible aisle I can go through, and then just like actually spend a lot of unnecessary time doing that. Whereas I think someone like an INTP would have a bit more intuition on like knowing which aisles to go through. Like they don't need to go through the freaking diaper aisle. Like they'll
I
like
want to
have a
draw.
better understanding.
I want to draw a quick distinction that you just made me think of about TI and TE. Like you go in with a list. It's a great TE approach to solving this thing, but you don't actually take a TE approach with your list. You don't say, okay, I made a list. I'm going to execute the list. I know the task is done correctly by seeing if I got everything on the list.
Hmm.
You're using a TI approach to your TE methodology and saying, okay, I've done the TE approach. Now I'm not going to use the TE approach as a TE person would. Instead, I'm going to use it as a starting point for my TI consistency. I need to make sure that what I get is actually consistent with what I actually need, not with my list. That's really interesting. I
Yeah,
think. Thank you for saying that was an interesting comparison. Whoever said that, I appreciate that. All right, so go ahead, ISTP. Sorry for interruption.
yeah. Oh well, I just saw the comments. Like my INTP buddy almost literally jogs through the store. Yeah. So like I literally want to see everything because me looking at the thing reminds me, okay, I need that. Um, I agree with what you're talking about. The thought process is probably if I'm not thinking of what I need, I'm probably just thinking about like a theory like Myers-Briggs or Enneagram or just whatever I feel like thinking about. I think the airtight versus like relativistic thing you drew the comparison to is pretty spot on because I'm thinking of if everything's like fitting together perfectly, whereas I guess the INTP is more likely to not care. Like they want it to be right, but it's almost like they're looking at with the opposite perspective of
Right.
like, okay, what's wrong? Like I look at like what's wrong, how that can be fixed, and it's almost like the INTP is like what's
How can I step
wrong
on
and
your
what,
thing? How can I
yeah,
step
how
on your
can that
thing?
lead to something else? Like how can that lead to something else? Not necessarily wanting to fix it, but what more comparisons and conclusions can be drawn from that. Um, yeah. Also, INTPs they have. Do you know Socionics' hidden agenda?
Oh, tell me, I'm
Okay,
interested.
so it's the third cognitive function. So for you, it's FE, and for INTPs, it's SI, and for Socionics, that's called the hidden agenda. And basically, it's the part of people that they don't really tell other people about, but they value a lot in themselves. They value a lot personally. And what I've noticed is that INTPs actually care a lot about their health, like what food they're consuming, because that's like kind of SI stuff. Like they're concerned about like what foods they're putting into the body. They're concerned about like cooking things and like getting like organic stuff. Like whereas ISTPs, I just buy the stuff I normally buy every single time. INTP is more likely to try out new products. That's a good one too. They're more likely to try out new products, whereas I find a product that I know I like, and I just go for that product every single time.
Well, the other thing I would say about INTPs in general, as I think is less true of ISTPs where there's something similar but different. So INTPs, they're looking for finality. They test something out. You present them a new idea they haven't encountered before. They test it out and they look at it from all different directions. They examine it. They draw the conclusions about it, and then they set it into their whatever their internal organization system of their ideas is, and it fits in with there. It doesn't fit in with there as I mean, it fits in as it fits in. But the but that once something's been processed like that, they don't really return to it again, and they don't take it out again and reposition it and turn it into something else. That they want to have ideas be in their place. They want ideas to be like objects, to be able to be put away and stay in their place. And what they like about ENTPs is that ENTPs help them to together. INTPs and ENTPs can really fucking attack the hell out of the ways in which ideas can be, if they were like objects and could be placed in different things. Here's ways that we could do it. Well, let's practice. Practice putting it in this way. Let's practice putting it that way. But the problem is, the reason that INTPs and ENTPs ultimately where we disagree is that INTPs want there to actually be a system that eventually the idea gets put away in. But ENTPs ultimately never want that to happen. We never agreed on any abstract idea. Now, there are some that I continue to advocate for specifically as the strongest arguments. And I'm increasingly growing in faith that they are in fact the strongest arguments. But even while I'm saying all of those things, I might argue the exact opposite on some other occasion, or I might say, well, yeah, but there's a subtle difference here that caused me to engage this other framework for this particular occasion, and it's not a contradiction, and even if it is, so what? I'm large, I contain multitudes. It's like that thing drives the INTPs crazy. They don't want that at all. They don't want to have the things that they've spent all this time building this thing and putting shit away. They don't want to take it out again and have to put it someplace else and rebuild the thing. So
Yeah.
I think ISTPs are more like INTPs in that regard. However, I would say that ISTPs are more cautious about the building part. Like if you think of it as being a building of a structure here and then a putting of things in there. I think INTPs build the structure ahead of time and then try to find ways to make some of the things either fit into their structure or not fit into their structure a little bit. And they're not quite understanding that they're so smart that they're building the frame ahead of the things that they're getting that they need to build the frame to hold. They can't anticipate that well. You can't anticipate that well. So I think ISTPs
Yeah.
are more aware of that, or more wary of that overreach, and are less likely to do that, and they're more likely to just focus on how these objects fit into this thing abstractly.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing I think of is the socionics judicious versus decisive. We're talking like you guys know about that at all with the
Tell us.
quadra values.
Tell us.
So, okay, extrovert intuition types are judicious. That's hard to say. Judicious, and SE users are decisive. So the decisive users essentially want resolution. Like they're going to say their views and say like, this is the view I have. Like this is what I have. And the judicious people are like, I wonder what this view is like. And then they spend like, time talking about it and stuff. So I think that goes into the hesitation with the ISTP because they want that like worldview or framework to work, and then they can say, this thing is the thing that works. And they just say it. Whereas the INTP is more likely to want to talk about it with ENTPs. ENTP, like, and that's the other thing. INTPs go well with ENTPs because they're more likely to talk through and speculate the topics of interest, whereas the ISTP and the ESTP is less likely to talk about stuff and more likely to get the ISTP to go out and experience the actual world, and that way the ISTP can build their worldview through like literal concrete experience rather than like speculating what a worldview or ideology is like.
Well, I of course, sociology says that our relationship is of the supervisor-supervisee
Yeah.
relationship, which I
Yeah.
think is interesting. I think about a lot. When I do intertype thinking, I use that as a reference point for what supervisor-supervisee relationship feels like, which is I get it. I understand what that means entirely, which is it's basically I'm more naturally able at certain areas that you're not naturally able at, and specifically it has to do with the seventh function. So it's like your seventh function's NE,
Yeah.
My dominant function's NE. So what for me to experience the other direction of this, I need to find INFP.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, as a general sort of feeling, I kind of think like, ew, INFPs. No offense, INFPs. I swear I don't know this at all. I don't know any of you. I don't know any of you. But I have these opinions about how INFPs are that may be completely bullshit. But I want to. I want to see. I want to experience it. I want to hang out with an INFP long enough to experience what it feels like from the other direction.
Yeah, well, honestly, like I think supervisor relationship is really just different for different types. Because like for me, the supervisor aspect comes in when I have opinions and you smash them, and I can't instantly retaliate with how like you're smashing them is incorrect. You know, like I say like I might say like an ideology and you just smash it, and then I look at all the pieces. And I'm just like, now what do I do? Like I don't know what to do. So then I have to like go back and like leave and like think about it, like okay, and I come back and then you just smash it again. But like I don't
That's how it
mind
feels
that.
from your side. Oh my god, that is not what I'm supposed to be doing at all. I don't intend to be doing it. Is that how it feels like from your? So I was like, oh, see, he comes and then he gets possibilities because say his seventh slot is possibilities. It'll be like for me, I go to the INFP and they help me to experience feelings or something. I don't know, but but what it feels like to you is you come here and I fucking smash your shit.
Well, okay, no, it's not necessarily with like Myers Briggs because that's like I'm a bit more knowledgeable about that. But say I just come in, I'm just like everyone who votes for Hillary Clinton is evil. I just say that, like I just say like decisively, like that is what it is, and then you just like say like no, like here's all these reasons why, here's a million reasons why that's wrong. What would happen is I would just sit there and just be like, well, I don't know how to refute his points, but I still don't agree with him. And then I'd have to leave and be like, okay, see. And then I come in the next time and be like, everyone who votes for Hillary Clinton, or it's like half the people who vote for Hillary Clinton are evil. And then you like smash it again. I just like keep coming back and like fixing it, spending time
Really?
fixing it. That's how it seems to me, at least. You know.
Hmm. I wonder how it would feel from a feeling perspective. Anybody else want to get in on this topic about the INTPs? I haven't talked to you yet. I have more access to INTP insight than I do ISTP. So in a sense, I feel like the beneficiary in this relationship based on Overlord for sure because I don't get you're my ISTP, right? You're the time I get to ask questions and hear ISTP perspectives and get a better sense of what
Yeah.
ISTPs are like, you know. So INTP, Nandi, you're INFJ, right, Nandi?
Uh-huh. I
Yeah,
really agree with a lot of what he's saying.
you agree with what he's saying?
You
Yeah.
We're in the same quadrant. We have the same four functions, so you're a decisive
Yeah.
type.
So is that how you deal with the grocery store as well?
To a lesser extent, I mean, I don't really go shopping yet. Like, I haven't needed to, like, my mom does it, but yeah, that's what I do sometimes, like, go down the aisle to make sure that I haven't, like, forgot anything and see if it even, like, jog my memory. So I'll do that, yeah.
Interesting.
And also, like, the whole going back and, like, thinking about my argument or whatever and then coming up with a new one and then going back and forth like that. Because, like, I have to leave and then think about it and then come back and be like, this is how it is. And you're like, no. And then I have to go back and like, shit. Now I have to figure out how to do something else. And then back and forth like that. So I can relate.
INTPs are more willing, or INTPs are more likely to be able to spar, like on the spot. Like you smash them, and then they like smash your stuff, or they like fix it up really fast. You know, it's not the same. Whereas they have problems with ESTPs because that's their supervisor, and I've noticed that too.
Well, I mean, I can imagine being extremely vulnerable with an INFP in the sense that this INFP, especially if we were female, I could imagine her like reading, like somehow there's some parts of my body that are moving around and doing stuff that are invisible to me, but that are completely visible to her, and they reveal things about me that I don't think are even existent, let alone being revealed, and um, and yet they can see that. That's the sort of sense in the supervisor relationship, I think, right?
Well, I would guess that well, okay, here's an example that I thought of. You know the whole Chad thing where like you made a video where you're like this, like you made a video about Chad Crandall or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Like it was like pretty sarcastic, right?
It was pretty
Like
sarcastic. It was a little too
that
sarcastic, but
was,
yeah, it
I
pushed
would
the
say,
barriers. But yeah, go ahead.
it pushed the bear. I mean, I thought it was funny because like I didn't take it seriously, but like someone who values FI would have just been absolutely appalled by that because you showed like your seventh function is the worst function for you, FI. Like that was some lack of FI there. Like you weren't being like, okay, I should say this like this because that's the polite thing to do. I should not be sarcastic right now because that's the polite thing to do. Like INFPs are really attuned to that. So if INFP saw you doing that, they'd probably like shame you. They probably like, try to shame you into like doing these FI things where like they're like you need to be polite when you talk to people. You need to say this, and you just want to be like you just want to say whatever you want to say.
Well, yeah, and in fact, the thing is, of course, when those events happen, it's this reflexive urge that ENTPs have to thumb their nose at anything that would constrain them that doesn't seem consistent with their understanding of what ought to constrain them. We tend to not just want to not follow constraints, we want to actively defy them if we don't feel like they're justified, even if we don't have any reason to defy them. There's the other thing about this constant need to prove oneself. That the ENTP is sort of chronically insecure, so much so that it's hard to even say that we're insecure because it's like security would imply that I it would imply that I'm not responsible to define myself in an ongoing fashion. And I think ultimately an ENTP operates under that assumption.
Of being insecure, you're saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's a weird word to use for an ENTP because I think we're so chronically in need of.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. It's like you just constantly have to get out of the box that's constraining you. Like anytime you feel like you're being constrained, it's like you're not gonna let that happen.
But more than that, it's saying I I feel like to the extent that I understand where limits are, it's because I pushed up against them and I've made real that limit. If I just sort of know that, well, you don't do that, it has to be a really, really powerful prohibition for me to respect it just sort of on a gut level. Certain things like, awful things, obviously. But
Yeah.
but the point is that with, with with when you're going through life and you feel the need to have something observed for it to be real, which I think is the core issue of the NTP. That we don't feel as though our
I'm sorry,
experiences are
what?
real until and unless
Not
somebody's
yet.
observed them and ideally engaged with us about them.
No,
We
I
really
should
sort
though.
of.
Can you just like mute people on spot?
I could mute her, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think that makes insecurity a weird thing because insecurity normally is saying, "Oh, you're insecure. You need to prove something to me." Well, do you mean people behave for other reasons?
Hmm.
That's basically how I feel about it. What I'm not insecure about anymore is reconciling that reality externally, where I reconcile all my realities.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from sort of an outside perspective, the way I see seventh function FI and ESTPs and ENTPs, like here's a good analogy. It's like, or example is like you like walk into a business meeting and just like say an inappropriate joke in front of everyone, and like you don't realize that like that is not something you're supposed to do. Like I don't know if you resonate with that at all, but like, do you see what I'm saying? Like you just walk in and just say an inappropriate joke,
I
and you
get that
don't
part. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. You walk in there, first thing you do is you say an inappropriate joke. Gotcha. Now go ahead. What's the
yeah.
next part?
Like I mean, just like like ESTPs and ENTPs don't. They're almost unaware of certain things like that, like the relationship. Like okay, this is business type relationship where you are with certain people in your corporation that you have to. This is the distance of the relationship. The distance of the relationship is such that you two are not in a position to say inappropriate jokes to each other. Maybe after work when you're at happy hour, that distance in the relationship between the exact same people and you might come closer, so it's okay to say stuff like that. But like in certain situations, you don't know, like, okay, how close together are we, such that I can be as authentic as I want to be. The default is almost like authentic in every situation.
Well, and that's because we're not good at measuring that thing, right? Because we never can figure out how to do that real time. How to both behave real time because we're extroverted perceivers, SENNE, to behave real time and process real time and think as we speak, and at the same time to measure that, keep track of that distance between that we're supposed to maintain, the expectations regarding that distance. And so naturally we're going to rebel against it, and we're going to rebel against it in predictable ways. ENTPs are going to argue that it's fundamentally wrong to constrain individuals for arbitrary reasons.
Yeah.
And
Like,
ESTPs are going to go fuck you and just roll. I gotta get my ice. I'll be right back. Talk for a bit. Everyone's heard my voice plenty. You guys talk for a bit while I get ice and refill my drink here.
all right. Well, I'll just answer questions. I don't really have anything to say, so I'll just answer questions to people. The pizza delivery guy just knocked on the door, so I might have to leave too. But if you guys have any questions, put them in here. Otherwise, I won't know what to say, and I'll just be rambling, to myself while everyone's in the chat waiting for pizza, which is here. I got salami, Asiago, and steak on pizza.
That's interesting. Oh my God.
All right, there we go. Look at that. Crafted with love by hand. Oh my God. Look at that. You can just look at it. Just look at it. But you look at it. Just look at it. Just look at it. Oh my God, so good. Let's see.
I just realized that I was yelling in the chat to my neighbor with the microphone on. Sorry.
Yeah, you contributed to the conversation. It was a pretty informative answer.
That's so embarrassing. I try not to do that. I wasn't paying any attention.
Mom, what's for dinner tonight? Mom. So good. So, did you guys think of questions?
Yeah.
Is everyone here a sensor, by the way? Or is everyone here just intuitive?
JC's not here, but she's a sensor. Oh, and Zack Attack is an ISTP.
Zack Attack, you use your 5 senses? Yeah, everyone here is just intuitive. Just intuitive.
All right.
I bet at least one of you guys who types as an intuitive is actually a sensor. I'm gonna guess that. A year down the line.
Zach
a year down
types
the line.
as a sensor.
Yeah, other than him. I bet a year down the line, one of you guys is going to be like, you know what? I'm actually a censor. And you're going to join the tribe.
It's me.
You a censor?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you're an ISFJ, aren't you?
ISFP, actually. I'm ISFP.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot.
It's okay.
So you're actually dominant in FI, which is the thing that you used to be the worst at. What gives?
Well, I'm not sure. Sorry, Zach Attack. That's my imitation of the ISFP.
And yet some of
they say little, and they just sort of you get around them and you go, there's some force here that's invisible force that I can't see. I can just sort of sense the FI in the room, and I go, oh,
well, here's
careful,
the thing. Here's
careful.
the thing.
I hear a buzz. There's some invisible force around here.
They don't talk at all, and yet they get everyone to like them, which is like the weirdest. I don't understand how they do it. They just never talk, and yet I like talking to them. I just start just rambling to them, and they just let me do that.
Well, I feel like I always feel as though, like I said, that there's some sort of mysticism around them. I speak carefully around them. I'm concerned.
Well, I don't speak carefully.
You don't speak carefully around them. See, I do. It has the opposite effect on me.
Yeah, they just let me talk to them, and they don't. I don't feel like they're criticizing what I'm saying. They just let me talk to them, and they just agree with it and stuff, and just chill. It's
That's
all
the
good.
purpose of ISFPs, is to enable everybody else's seventh function. So they enable me to experience feeling, they enable you to experience NE and get all rambly, right?
They experience me. No, they experience my FE, bro. My FE of just being able to, feeling like I can say whatever I want, bro, and not be judged.
Yeah.
Well, that's NE. I mean, you're
No,
saying,
dude.
you're saying
No,
you be
FE.
careful all the time with something.
Yeah, I feel like I have to be careful all the time, and ISFP is I don't have to feel like I'm careful with them.
That's true.
I don't feel like I have to be argumentative with them at all, or I don't think I need to prove anything to them. I don't feel like I need to prove things to them.
Yeah, they're all good. They're not trying to hurt you or do anything to you. They're easygoing.
This is FI, right? It's on the FI.
Yeah, they're really tuned to bridging the gap between people in relationships. They just know how to do it.
Hey, INTJ girl in the house.
Are there INTJ in here? Who's that?
Hi, I'm Courtney.
Hi, Courtney. Are you the Courtney who's commented?
Yeah, that's me.
Right on. Okay, cool. Well, let's stop this video here and let's talk to Courtney and make the topic of the next video a life as an INTJ female. 'Cause I don't think I've ever spoken to one before. And,
Can I turn on my camera?
please. That makes you a rare species of creature there.